Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. Now I've put off doing a Persona episode for a long time now, but with the 5th installment coming right around the corner in September, I figured it was time. So let's talk Persona. Now really fast before I go anywhere, I'm saying right now there are massive spoilers for the true ending of Persona 4, so if you haven't played it yet, you've been warned. So if the spoiler warning didn't tip you off for this video, I want to talk about Persona 4's best waifu in my opinion, Izanami. Why her? Well, she may not be super kawaii moe, but she's got some of the best hidden cultural backstory I've seen in this game. Unbeknownst to the player, you actually meet her pretty early on in the game as a gas station attendant. But if you get to the true ending of the game, we discover that not only was she fooling us in human form, she was also curious about humanity's desires and unlocked them through various personas through physical contact like a handshake. All the while she's experimenting with them, trying to understand humanity's wishes, and in the end, Izanami is found out and she challenges the lead character to confront not only her, but the truth of existence in the other world. One epic fight later against Izanami's kami form, she's unmasked to be something far more horrible and gruesome, a personification of death and decay. After sending the protagonist's companions into the abyss, the protagonist realizes his potential, stops Izanami's attacks by way of defying the will of humanity, summons forth Izanagi no Okami and defeats her. Oddly enough, Izanami swears to leave humanity to itself, wishing for their happiness but not guaranteeing it, then congratulating the team before disappearing. Despite how weird and random that plot twist may seem, all of these elements, Izanami, Persona awakenings, her different forms, all of these concepts are valid when you compare them to Izanami's history. Izanami and Izanagi, whose names mean female and male who invites, respectively, were created by the first kami in existence, Kunito Kotachi and Ame no Mina Kanushi as cited in the Kojiki and Nihongi. The two were charged by their creators to make the first land, and they did so by dipping a jeweled spear called the Ame no Nuboko into the primordial seas, and what dropped from the spear when it was pulled out became known as Onogoro-shima, the self-forming island. From there, Izanami and Izanagi descended from the heavens and began their lives on the island. It's at this point in the story we start to see a lot of parallels between Izanami of Persona and Izanami of Shinto, because once on that island, it was the couple's job to start cranking out children to populate the world. And not the same kind of children you're thinking either. We're talking about everything from other kami to entire land masses. Seriously, Izanami was a champ. Not only did she birth countless kami into the world, but she also pushed out the 8 ancient islands of Japan known as Awaji, Tsukushi, Ogi, Iyo, Iki, Tsushima, Sado, and Yamato. This gal made Queen Ants look like slackers. Considering this, it's very easy to understand why Izanami of Persona 4 had the latent ability to unlock personas with individuals. Personas are predominantly based off of kami who Izanami had birthed, so for her to basically act as a catalyst to bring personas into the world makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, Izanami's tale isn't a happy one. Even before she and Izanagi got into the swing of things with birthing land masses and gods, they had a rocky start. Before the two were allowed to get at it, they had to go through a special ceremony. They built a giant pillar called Ame no Mihashira, or Pillar of Heaven, and around it a palace called Yahiro Dono. The two were to circle the pillar from opposite starting points, and when they met, Izanami spoke the first greeting. Izanagi thought it was kinda weird and improper, but whatever, they did the deed, so it was time to go at it. Sadly, their first 2 kids were not kami. In fact, they were misshapen devils, Hideko meaning Leech Child, and Awashima meaning the Faint Island. After putting their demon children to sea, the two consulted their creators as to what in the heck just happened. They responded by saying that it was Izanagi who should have spoken first, and it was only after they performed the marriage ceremony the second time started to have non-demon children. I know guys, but it was a different time. Now I know that entire story may seem irrelevant compared to Persona 4's story, but roll with me guys, this is actually an important point down the line, cause Izanami's troubles didn't end there. When it came time to birth the kami of fire, Kagutsuchi, Izanami was badly burnt in the process and eventually died. This is why Izanami in Persona 4 is not only wearing what looks to be multiple layers of kimono, but also all of them being pure white. She's not even amongst the living. See, in Japanese society back then, prestige and power for a woman was symbolized by how many layers they had. For Izanami to be one of the creationist kami, it would make sense for her to dress regally. However, when people die, they are dressed in all pure white as part of funeral preparations. Oh, but the story doesn't end there though. Izanagi was so outraged at the death of his wife that he actually slew Kagutsuchi, subdividing him into even more kami and then traveled to Yomi, the Shinto underworld to retrieve his beloved. After days of searching the corrupted realm of the dead, Izanagi finally found Izanami, but couldn't see her clearly in the shadows. As he approached her, exclaiming that he had come to take her home, Izanami refuted him, saying that after eating the food of Yomi, she became bound to it, unable to leave. Desperate to see his beloved, Izanagi lit the comb that he held in his hair alight to finally see the face of his wife. But instead of bringing joy to him, only horror filled him as his beautiful wife had become that of a rotting corpse, covered in maggots and decaying flesh. Terrified, he abandoned Izanami, fleeing her presence. She in turn gave chase, screaming and shrieking. Izanagi finally escaped to Yomotsuridasaka, the cave entrance to Yomi, and barricaded it with a boulder. Izanami screamed from the other side that every day she would kill 1,000 of the living, to which Izanagi cried back that he would give life to 1,500. This explains Izanami's true form. In her kami form, she appears to be in a straitjacket, bound and confined, and this personifies the real Izanami being trapped within Yomi. And the protagonist's use of the Orb of Sight, showing Izanami no Okami's true form of that of a rotting zombie-like monster, is a direct parallel to Izanagi using his comb to discover Izanami's true form of a rotting corpse having dwelt in Yomi for too long. Now you'd think that'd be the end of it, but something had me wondering. Why in Persona 4 was Izanami not only understanding but congratulatory towards the protagonist for defeating her and discovering the truth? One would think that a true villain would be shaking their fists, telling the hero that they would rue the day that they defeated them. But see, that's the thing. In both stories of Persona and Shinto, Izanami isn't a true villain. Her story is one of tragedy, with her life and death being filled with mishaps beyond her control. From her failed marriage that corrupted her first children, to her unfair death at childbirth, to her unjust sentencing to live her existence as a monster, and then finally being rejected and exiled by her own husband, Izanami lost herself. All through Persona 4, she keeps talking to the protagonist about the truth of humanity and existence, that it would be far better for mankind to live in ignorance of the truth of death. And she fights the protagonist over this concept because that's all she knows. Life's a bitch and then you die. But when she was confronted by the protagonist and his ability to not give in to that truth, to fight it, she had no power to stop him. It's a personification of the human spirit to find more in life than the notion that we all die and there's nothing of value to our existence. Because of her tragic life, Izanami knew no concept of hope. That's why she was powerless, and is also why she wasn't a vengeful villain upon her defeat, but one who genuinely wished happiness in life to the existence that she created. In a way, it's kinda tragically beautiful. You know, I was honestly terrified of touching on the Persona series just because there's so much to try and take in. But after this, I think it's more than worth it to dig into other cultural parallels the series has to offer. But hey, if you like Persona, I'd wager you fancy yourself an anime fan. And if you're looking for some unique anime swag you can't get anywhere else, and you want to support the show at the same time, I highly suggest a subscription to Loot Anime. From the makers of Loot Crate, Loot Anime is a subscription service that for about $25 a month nets you over $60 worth of anime gear. Last month's theme of Squadron netted me a sweet Gate T and Gate theme multi-tool, a tiny adorable Assault Kingdom Gundam figure, Anti-Magic Academy scarf, a copy of Arpeggio of Blue Steel Volume 1, and a box theme phone charm. This month's theme of Back to School features items from Assassination Classroom, Digimon Adventure Tri, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Danganronpa, Fruits Basket, and Persona 3. Isn't that convenient to this video? So if you want to get your hands on this unique gear and support the channel at the same time, head on over to lootcrate.com/Goombah3 and input the code Goombah3 at checkout to get 10% off your purchase. But don't wait too long because this month's cutoff time is August 19th, 9 PM Pacific. But if you're looking for more Persona trivia, click here to head on over to Did You Know Gaming to hear me rattle off all kinds of Megami Tensei secrets. Or click here to learn how a simple ban of Overwatch skins can lead to a larger downfall than people realize. But until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah signing out.